All right, is there anybody out there that can hear me? You guys have your mics muted. Maybe unmute them and just say hi. I just want to make sure everything's working correctly. Not hearing anybody.
Hello,
Oh, there we are. Who's that?
this is Hatham. I hear you.
Oh, hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How you been?
Good.
Good.
All right, good. You guys are hearing me. That's good. We're gonna wait a few minutes. Looks like we got a handful of people that still haven't joined us. How many we got so far?
Looks like we got 10.
All right, say that again. I didn't
Wear
hear
your
you.
winter coat, hat, and gloves.
We got 8 so far. 2 of them are AI note takers.
Okay. So yeah, just so you know, guys, I can't really see who's in the meeting. I got Fernando next to me. He's kind of helping me navigate. Did they see you?
I think so.
I got screen over here. I got Fernando over here. I got screen in front of me. So kind of new to this whole technology thing.
Marvin's live.
Say again?
Said my mic is now live. This is Marvin.
Your mic is not live?
It's
Yeah.
now live.
Oh, okay, got it.
I got it activated. I'm also new to this technology, Zoom stuff, so.
I've done a bunch of these, but usually somebody else is kind of managing the whole thing. This is, we're here at TK Design. It's kind of new for us to be, hosting it. How many we got in so far?
Still 8.
8?
Yep.
What time is it?
102.
All right, I'll give it a few more minutes and let some other people join, see if we get any more joining us. Any other names out there that I know? Anybody I've met before? Nobody yet? Let's see.
Timson.
Got the whole district there.
Yep.
Maybe I'll wait till 5 after and then we'll start.
I say that's good.
Let me know when we hit that number.
All right.
All right, we're gonna start in about 2 minutes, I think, guys. For those of you that have just joined, we're gonna start here in a minute, and I'll just give people a chance to log in here, giving them a couple extra minutes. Where we at, about 5 after now?
Yeah, just
Oh, still 104. I'll give them another few seconds, I guess. I'm sure we'll have some people start joining us kind of late in the game. Ready?
good to go.
All right, guys, so we're gonna get started. My name's Eric Tiffin. I am the President of Business Development and Production Services here at TK Design. Little business about our company. We are a national company with clients in the majority of our 50 states. We've even traveled over across borders like to Canada to share our knowledge and designs. A little background about me. My father was a builder, so I've basically been in the industry since birth. My mom worked outside the house, so and daycare was expensive, so I spent a lot of time on my dad's truck, bouncing around the job sites when I was a kid. By the time I was 15, I was working for my dad full time in the summer between school years. And after I graduated high school, residential construction became my full time job. That is year round. While I took night classes for architecture, and after I've been in the design side of things for about 25 years. I personally reviewed, engineered, drawn, and walked job sites for thousands of houses. I've also had the opportunity to spend the last decade or so being part of Scott Saddam's True North consulting team, where we sit with upper management of residential companies around the country, and we interview their trades and their suppliers, and we learn from them where the real waste is. So it's that unique perspective that I bring to you guys, and it's helped me learn and grow in our industry. And I'm going to share some of that knowledge with you of what I've learned over the years in the trades and in the architecture. Now, if you're interested in getting a copy of this presentation, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I'll reply with a link that you guys can download from. So we're going to jump right in. Oh, by the way, at the end of this, Fernando's helping us navigate a little bit. If you guys got any questions, you can send a message in, or I think you can do like a hand raise or something at the end, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So first, why are we here? And that is to answer the age-old question: how do builders continue to make profits in this volatile market? By now, everybody's aware of the inflation and how that's impacting everybody's margins. The rapid inflation combined with rising interest rates have decimated housing affordability. And who knows what's going to happen with all this tariff war that's going on. So in today's market, builders need to increase quality, speed, and efficiency to sell more homes, and they need to reduce operating costs to maintain profit. We call that lean design. Now, there's many factors that can affect the approach of what we call leaning down a plan, such as target market, local trade cost, personal experience. Increasing margin isn't just about reducing labor either. It can also mean spending more money to sell more homes. And selling more homes means spending more money to bring in more buyers and to reduce cycle time. Reducing cycle time is often where we see the biggest savings and the easiest to implement. And it means you'll have more days in your schedule to build more homes. So let's shed some light on what that might look like. First question is, what is lean? I get asked this all the time. And really, it isn't one thing or a group of things. It's more like a mindset. It's training yourself to identify waste when you're on job sites or even internally in your office and making an effort to reduce or eliminate it. And we define waste as something associated with the construction of a home that your buyers would not knowingly or willingly pay for. Yeah, I think somebody out there's got their mic on. If you could mute it, please. So I often get the question from clients, if I go through this lean process, how much money am I going to save? And the honest answer is it depends on how much effort you want to put in. I personally sat with trades and upper management of building teams and dozens of production building companies across the country, and I've seen them uncover between 2 and 15% of their total build costs, but this is potential. Remember, that's one thing, and actual savings is another. Once we identify the potential, it's up to your team to go out there and capture it. And that's why I say it really depends on how much effort that you want to put in. Now, how do we get to the point where our homes or our processes have a bunch of waste? There's a lot of factors that can affect this, but as a team here at TK Design, there's some patterns that we notice. Number one is designing without considering cost. There's a million ways to put together a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath plan, but to get the most bang for your buck, you want a designer that's got cost in mind as they're designing. And not everybody does this, and in fact, most don't. Cost savings really starts when the pen first hits the paper. And there's code enforcement in different municipalities. Just because a certain building department wants you to modify something, it shouldn't affect every home you build. You could have a designated plan set for each city or project that you're working in with notes and details for that one community. And there's personal preference or ego. Oftentimes builders put stuff into a home that they would want in their own home. The reality is you're selling to your buyer, you're not selling to yourself. You're building for your buyer too, and what your buyer wants may not be what you would want in your own home. Then there's that's how we've always done it mentality, and the truth is resistance to change means you're never going to learn and grow. And no designated plan manager, this is a pretty big one. We often see this in bigger companies that are selling more homes. You should have one person designated as the plan manager in your organization. Any requests or revisions, no matter who they come from, are discussed as a team and implemented and managed by one person in your organization. And they are the liaison between your team and your architect or internal design team. Now, the top 7 things we commonly see here at TK Design that, if addressed, can easily save you money on every build. Number 1 is going to be in framing material. The amount of framing material needed for any project can vary greatly. If you compare 2 homes with the same square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc., the framing material needed to build the home could be vastly different. You can easily reduce waste in your material caused by learning to where to look for waste. Now, there's a lot of books out there that are available on advanced framing, and there's some good information in these, but they're no substitute for actual boots on the ground and walking your homes. Now, thankfully, the price of lumber has cooled down a bit, but we all know the impact that the price of lumber can have on a home. So now more than ever, it's critical to cut waste wherever we can in this area. During one of our many site walks, we spotted this. It was a pass-through from one space to another, and the plans required the framer to drop the ceiling in this area, but had no particular reason for it. So if you look close, you can see the roof framing runs parallel with what could be a header. And then you got on one side, you got a jack stud under that header, and on another side, you don't. So looking at all this, we see that this is probably a non-load bearing wall. Also see nailers here that are totally unnecessary. Drywall spans 2 foot on center. And in these areas, there's less than 2 feet between them, so you actually don't need them. I would eliminate this entire thing, savings about $20 for this particular instance. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but imagine this happening 100 times a year. The numbers can get pretty big. Another example here, we see a double 2x6 header with 2 jacks and 2 king studs on either end. The gable end above was siding on the outside. There's really almost no weight there. We could have easily handled this with 1 jack and 1 king on each side of the header with a single 2x header, savings of about $20 in lumber. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot again, but where there's smoke, there's fire. When I see this, I know there's likely several more examples of this in the home. Now imagine that happening 5 times in every home. And if the builder's selling 100 homes per year, that's about $10,000 in money spent unnecessarily just in throwing extra lumber at these windows. The added benefit to identifying things like this is that there's less labor time involved for your framer, and you could leave space above the window for a little bit of insulation to make a more comfortable home, which can now be showcased to your buyers. Now, hopefully you're all seeing this. We've got a 4-ply LVL sitting down on top of engineered lumber over this garage door opening, which had to extend the full width of the garage because it was a portal frame. We dug a little deeper into this plan set and learned that that original LVL was totally unnecessary because it was intended for an option that got removed, which made also that header over the 2 garage doors completely unnecessary because the weight that was originally planned to be coming down on top of them didn't even exist. Now, this is quite literally thousands of dollars wasted on this one build, and they've built this home many dozens of times. The message is schedule regular reviews of your plans with your team, and you never know what you're going to find. Piggyback trusses. There's rules to how wide of a load a truck can carry over the road. If the truss height or load width exceeds those rules, we all know you're starting to add piggyback trusses in, which increases your labor and material costs because the trusses are now coming out in two pieces. A little bit of extra planning, you can lower your roof lines and you can eliminate those piggybacks. Now, I am going to quote my colleague, Kyle Hunt. Let me see here. I'm trying to find a little laser pointer. I'm going to quote my colleague, Kyle Hunt, in this one. He's owner of Remodelers on the Rise, and here's what he calls his 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. What you're seeing here in the background is like a beam coming in on an angle that's dropped low, and you see the end of the beam cut on an angle here, and there's literally 10 studs surrounding that thing. According to today's prices, 10 studs is about 40 bucks, at least for the numbers I look up from Home Depot. Now, this likely could have been handled with 1 or 2 studs, providing a savings of around 32 bucks. And the builder was having the lumberyard provide the engineering for this home, which is pretty common. The framer was ad-libbing because there was a lot of information missing from the plans. So he's just throwing as many studs under this thing as he needs to basically cover the bottom of it, and he's throwing 2 king studs on each end. Had my company provided the engineering, we would have called out the proper amount of jacks and kings on this beam. Now imagine this house being built 50 times. That's a conservative $1,600 that could have been saved, plus the added benefit of less labor to install the studs, making the framers profit better, and bringing your company up a notch on the builder of choice ladder. The easier you make it on your trades, the more profitable they become, and the more likely they're going to want to work for you, which can translate into better savings for your team down the road. Now, here's an easy one. Here we see 2 examples of a perpendicular wall intersection in framing. The one on the left has a full 2x6 stud between 2 more 2x4 studs to provide a nailer for the intersecting wall and for drywall. The image on the right shows the same condition, except the framer used scrap 2x4 horizontally. I'd estimate the savings of about $15 for the single instance, but it was likely repeated a couple dozen times in the home. Imagine that happening an average of 25 times in one house at a construction company that's building 100 more homes a year. That's $37,500 per year for that one problem that can easily be rectified by providing a scope of work. And that may look something like this. It's a simple concept that can come with tens of thousands of dollars in savings. The example on the left not only costs nothing, it reduces the amount of waste going into the dumpster. The example on the right shows how these methods actually add more lumber than what's necessary in the plans. Now here's some real low-hanging fruit. This example shows 5 studs on each end of each header on 3 openings. Each one of these would have likely been just fine with 1 jack and 1 king stud on each end, which means they could have used 4 studs per opening instead of 10. That's a savings of 6 studs per opening for a total cost of about $24 each. If you estimate a conservative average of this happening 15 times in a home, because they have 15 windows or more fireplaces or whatever it is, for a construction company selling 100 homes per year, that's $36,000 that can easily go back to the company's bottom line every single year just for identifying something as simple as this. Now, if you go the extra step with your architect, have them provide the proper engineering for the home, you can and will save money on every build. By simply calling out jack and king studs and framing, you can easily save that $36,000. Now, here's an example of some technology that we see today. Technology has increased leaps and bounds over the last few years. It's possible to provide a framing layout for your carpenters in a 3D digital model. A link can be sent to anyone and can easily be viewed and navigated on a phone or tablet. If you have language barriers in the field, which we often see on job sites down in the southern parts, carpenters can now view the model instead of calling on a field manager to help answer questions. And from what we've learned throughout my travels, this can be a very valuable tool that can save the building company countless hours and avoid expensive framing mistakes. Now, let's talk about corners. Corners in a home in a footprint cost money. Imagine the impact every one of these corners has on all things involved, such as foundation, floor framing, wall framing, roof framing, drywall, finishes, etc. For example, we've got 24 corners in this very small footprint. Now, picture the impact this is going to have on a two-story home. Each corner is affecting every part of the home, from the foundation, wall framing, floor framing, roof framing, and every interior finish. For instance, this corner was likely designed to create a roof separation. Reality is, the roof separation is mostly unnoticeable, but it creates a lot of extra work for the trades. Instead, we would have lined that front wall up to simplify the framing, and you'll likely get more square footage for a very similar cost. Now, here's an example of how to square up a plan to reduce cost. And the goal was to reduce the amount of corners in the foundation. We also wanted to give more definition to the dining room and great room. Now, this plan didn't have a family entrance, and the path to the kitchen was longer than it needed to be, and there was no place to kick off your shoes or store your pocket full of stuff. So we took a stab at this on a redesign. In this example, we've taken the same square footage and plan elements and reduced them to only 10 corners. We've separated the great room and kitchen, kept a loggia at the rear, but the roof lines have been simplified. The guest suite has improved traffic flow, and by moving it to a more central part of the home, we reduce the complexity of the front porch. We've created a more appealing family entrance with a shorter path to the pantry and to the kitchen to make it easier to carry in groceries. And we've added a wine bar, which is always a popular option, because we had a little bit of extra square footage. Let's talk specifications. Here at TK Design, we don't like to get too specific on brand names, but we want to provide clarity and direction for the trades and suppliers. Having a clear set of framing plans for your trades can save you exponentially. Now look at all the anchor bolts in that plate, and like the plate is literally covered with metal. The waste is insane, and they had to do this. The builder was forced to do it because there was nothing put on the plans, and they had this out of control inspector that demanded they do this. Had the plans had clear framing details, they easily could have avoided this. Having clear indication of something like anchor bolts, where to put them and where not to put them, can also be important. This particular builder kept having the same issue arise regularly. The bolts are being installed in door openings, and someone had to keep coming back to cut them off. It may seem insignificant, but when you add up the cost of the bolt itself, the time to install it, and then the time to cut it off, the numbers start to get pretty big. Imagine that at 100 homes per year, and it can get quite staggering. A simple way to avoid this is to clearly define where anchor bolts are not installed. And that can look something like this. It's a very simple concept, but if it's a problem that you keep having in the field, figure out a way with your architect or designer or internal draftspeople to mitigate that issue. Now, this one's some real low-hanging fruit. This actually happened, it was like 2 weeks ago. It's a project we're working on with a client. We are redrawing or designing some new plans for him, and we were using his old plans as reference to determine what his typical building style is. And what we saw here was the original designer spec'd a 10-inch thick wall on a 24-inch by 10-inch footing. The soil bearing capacity was over 3,000 pounds per square foot, which means we can easily meet code with an 8-inch thick wall on a 16 by 8 footing. The average linear footage of foundation was around 250 feet for this guy's plan set. The total cubic yards saved by reducing the wall thickness and footing size on average was about 17 yards. And I confirmed with the builder that he was paying about $150 a yard, which translated into about $2,550 per house built. And that's one note. All this was a foundation note that we changed and made it adhere to code. Now, the builder's building 3,500 homes a year, so he's saving on average $89,250. And if he starts adding more homes, if he's building more than 35 a year, the savings just keeps increasing. And remember, this is every year. This is not over the course of his company's life, this is every single year he'll save this money for one very small, simple note in his plans. Now, here's another simple one. Instead of installing an operable window where nobody can reach it, use fixed windows. This can easily be handled in your specs list. Clear, concise plans and specifications can save you money in places you never even think about. The electrical plan in this job indicated lights in each one of these locations. Problem was that there was no clear definition of what kind of light to put in there. So naturally, the electrician's employee that was on the job site picked the cheapest option. Here's what he puts in. These were eventually removed and replaced with recessed lighting at 100% additional cost to the builder for about $400 upcharge. Now, the issue occurred on several plans under construction. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my thing here.
Click off.
And there we go. This issue occurred on several plans under construction and several other plans that had already been built and sold, which put the total cost at way more than $400. There's a lot of savings, a lot of opportunity in windows. This particular room had 4 windows, all with small transoms above. By removing the transom and increasing the window height, they could save at least a conservative $100 per window and wouldn't have affected the look at all of the home. The plan was a hot seller. It sold over 25 per year on average. That's around $10,000 spent on unnecessary transoms for one room. And I imagine this happened in more than one room on more than one floor plan. Now, this one was a pretty big deal. This company had built this house over 50 times. Every time it was built, they had to order a $1,200 custom steel lintel to support the brick on both sides. If you do the math, that's 60 grand. Our solution would be to change the radius a bit, and then the brick or limestone above can become self-supporting, instantly saving $1,200 a home. But you need to detail these kind of things on the plans. This one was just a head scratcher. I don't understand why anybody would do this. Why not just make that piece of trim bigger? It's just a pain in the neck and there's no benefit at all, and it looks like a mistake. Now, here's a good one. You guys see that, right? The gable or the window is not centered on the gable. How could it be framed off center? This house was about to close and the repair on this was in the thousands. Now, I imagine there was a dimension error on the plans, which is easy to rectify. And then you tell yourself, well, that's just an anomaly. This doesn't really happen very often, so why worry about it? Then we drove down the street, literally down the street, and there it was again. The message: review your plans, walk your job sites, find this stuff, and you can easily correct it. Now, here's an odd one. I don't know why anybody would do this. So there's a 4-inch separation on the front wall covered in brick. Then the fascia line drops like a foot or so. And this is you can see it. It's creating all kinds of complications in the roof, the brickwork, gutters, etc. Why not just flush the thing up, raise the gable end? It would make things much simpler and the elevation would look better. I guess I just asked myself, why would you do such a weird buildup on a chimney on a production home? Not only does it cost money, it just looks bad. Remember the 5 Ps we talked about before? Proper planning prevents poor performance. This vent pipe could have been planned better to exit at the rear of the home, or at least in a more inconspicuous spot than on the front of the home, right in front of a window. Now, number 4, notable source of waste in your mechanicals. Improper layouts, conflicts between trades, gross amount of wasted material, all this can be solved. Now back to the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Everybody's seen this one a million times, which means it's worth making an effort to change. Work with your architect to provide a plumbing layout. Your supplier and framer can use it to locate drains before it becomes an issue, and you can avoid this also common joist repair. Now, looking at this picture, it reminds me of that robot in Lost in Space from when we were kids. Not only does it look bad, it's massively inefficient. A more efficient approach would be to provide a mechanical plan for your trades. And doing so will ensure that if you have multiple contractors, they're all performing the same install. And the added benefit is that you can now compare apples to apples when you're shopping trade contractors. You can also take it a step further and design in a 3D model, eliminating any potential conflict before they ever happen. Number 5, talk with your trades and get their input. Your trade base has a ton of knowledge, and if you can tap into it, you can save over and over again. Now, does this sound familiar to you guys? A home's under construction, framers have all kinds of questions and issues. Builder handles the issues by fixing the immediate problem, but never digs deeper to get to the root cause. For example, framing jobs short of lumber, field manager or carpenter calls a lumber supplier for a hot shot delivery, keeps moving. Builder gets an invoice for hot shot delivery. A cabinet comes out wrong. Builder orders another one and just keeps rolling. He or she finds out why it happened, never finds out why it happened in the first place, and it comes out wrong again. And then the builder throws a bunch more money out the window. So learning from our experiences with the True North team and from our own endeavors throughout the years, we've developed a system to tap into the vast knowledge of the trades. We hear their ideas, we create designs, we get their feedback, and we finalize the design concepts and help you build for less. Trade and supplier collaboration is key to the lean relationship. Sit with your trades one-on-one, go through all your plans, have the hard conversations, develop a strategy forward as a team, and in large part, it has been our experience that the trades and suppliers actually care. They just have never been asked for their input. And if you need help, call on somebody like the True North team who can help you achieve those goals. For example, this is one of our True North meetings. We were about a half day into the session, and this builder was building about 1,000 homes a year at the time the meeting occurred. Now, imagine the waste that you see here. We noted over 150 improvements on plans alone, all of this coming from the trade partners. Number 6, create 2 product development teams, one internally and one in the field. Your internal team may look something like operations, which could be the owner of the company, purchasing, architecture, project manager, and sales. Your external team, your field team, would look something like carpenter or framer, lumber supplier, HVAC contractor, electrician, plumber, and any other supplier you feel could have good impact, such as cabinets, windows, etc. Now, it's critical to do an as-built field walk every time you build a home for the first time. Once the field walk's completed, modify the drawings to match what was built. You'll now have an accurate set of plans going forward that you can keep building from. You'll find some interesting things when you start walking your houses with your trades. One of them we see all the time is half walls for islands or peninsulas. They're always installed incorrectly, and they end up getting torn out all the time. Ask yourself the question, why does this keep happening? Because a lot of times the framer's guessing in the field where a number of dimensions have been tweaked and the wall is installed in the wrong place. We found best practice is to indicate critical dimensions, and this helps eliminate mistakes and tear-outs in these sort of items. Now, this one seems quite simple. It's a harmless tub nailer. Problem is that it's almost always getting done at punch-out. If it were clearly dimensioned on the plans, it would allow the framer to put it in while building the wall and save time and money on having to come back and do it later. Now, lot specifics are very important. I often see builders or production builders working off master plan sets. So imagine I'm sure you've all seen this, or a lot of you have seen this, 2,500 square foot house with multiple structural options, framing sheets, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, all the things. This plan set can easily run 100 pages or more. Once a buyer purchases the home and creates a list of desired options, someone from the building company goes through this 100+ page plan set and they circle things that that apply to this home, then they X out things that don't. Then they hand that over to their trade contractors, this 100-page set, and now the trade contractors have to sift through all these unnecessary notes and details to get their job on time and in budget. I've actually seen trade companies that have employed somebody full-time simply just to go through all the red line plan sets because they couldn't keep it all straight. Now, my question is, why not develop a lot specific plan for every job to make it easier? And the pushback I usually get is, well, because doing it this way is faster and cheaper. Reality is, one mistake in the field can easily cost more than 10 lot specific plan sets, and we see this all the time. So I say scrap that idea. There's definitely a better way. Instead, develop a process to create a lot specific plan set for every job. When your team sells a home, have the sales checklist sent to your architect. He or she can use this to create a plan set unique to your particular job. Negotiate a flat fee upfront with your architect for this, and work together to decide what a feasible time frame would be to get a plan complete and build the time and cost into your business model. You can now pass this plan cost onto your buyer, and you have a built-in amount of time to manage into your schedule. Now the project managers no longer spend time redlining plans, and you avoid costly field mistakes. It's a win-win-win for the builder, for the trades, and for the buyer. Now, I've talked a lot about what to look for in the field. Now let's discuss what you can do, how you can do a thorough plan review on your own plan sets. Sit down as a group with now I emphasize as a group, not individually in your offices. Everybody come together, sit down with your plans laid out in front of you. Ask yourself these questions. Are your floor plans up to date? Are your elevations up to date? Are you offering structural options to allow buyers to upgrade? Do you have too many plans, which we commonly see? Once you've identified all those items, you start doing a details review. Are you offering enough elevations per plan to create a good streetscape? Can you make minor plan adjustments to reduce cost? Do you have consistency in your plan sets and in your details? Are details clear and understandable? Are there any details missing? Do you have overlapping square footages? And are you covering all the square footages that your competition is selling? Now, my colleague Brad Halbert over at ECI Software Solutions showed me this example of how he, as a builder, used to cut costs when he was building homes back in the 2008 time, back when the big crash happened. Now, he admitted afterwards, in hindsight, that this is not a good example of how to actually pull costs out of a home. You can see in this front elevation, he had a lot of brick on here. We had some pre-2008 details that some guys are putting in homes. His plan was to reduce the brick by switching to vinyl siding in areas. He dropped the roof pitch of the house. Inside, he took the kitchen island and made it optional. He put one sink in the master bath instead of two. He took out the cathedral ceiling that was in the master bedroom. And they considered squaring up the front elevation to try to save on cost, but ultimately decided not to because it increased square footage. Now, we started to evaluate a two-story plan that he was using as well. Now, instead of approaching this one from the builder's perspective, we did it from a designer's perspective. Right here is an example. This is actually a shot of the floor plans that we started with. Now, I started at the foundation. The original foundation had a 10-inch wide block wall with an 18-inch wide footing. The block wall is labor intensive, and the original footing is too wide. Instead, form and pour the wall 8 inches thick and reduce the footing width to 16 inches. Poured walls can reduce labor cost and decrease days in cycle time. Take this piece of steel, slide it towards the front, shorten the steel beam, and eliminate 3 columns with 3 column pads. Use I-joist instead of solid sawn for longer spans and less callbacks for squeaks. You may also reduce the steel and labor cost by using less beam lines. Form and pour all foundations. Don't use trench footings. Foundation can now be done in 1 stage instead of 2, which can easily decrease some cycle time. And you don't need a foundation under a bay window. You can either get rid of the foundation and cantilever the bay or get rid of the bay completely. On the first floor, the nook is way too tight to fit a decent table. There's a bunch of angles in there that add cost to the cabinetry, and there's no good way to furnish the family room. The formal dining room and living room are outdated. Get rid of them. Use the square footage in other places or reduce the footprint size, or both. The laundry's tight. There's no real place to sit and kick off your shoes. The primary bath has an outdated tub deck and a jacuzzi tub. And this plan is full of angled walls, which create dead space and make the plan feel choppy. Now, this is one of those instances where spending money upfront to save money and sell more homes makes sense. Instead of trying to lean down this plan, we opted to completely redesign it, keeping the square footage and the plan elements in mind. The redesigned version has less square footage and a smaller footprint, and we kept the important elements and eliminated unnecessary rooms. The kitchen lays out better without all the angles, and it's now easily accessible from the garage. We've integrated the dining into the kitchen and eliminated a separate dining area. The study increased in size. We had additional space in this home, so we were able to add an extra riser in the stairs to make it more comfortable to navigate. The walk-in closet got bigger. We no longer need to walk through the laundry to get into the home. We've created a family entrance that has a place to sit and kick off your shoes, and we've hidden the messy laundry area behind the door. And the family room actually got bigger. Now, in the side-by-side comparison, you can see that we've created a more open floor plan, which is what buyers are often looking for in a home. In the second floor, we see an odd layout that creates a long sloping roof lines on front and back and reduces the possibility of views at the rear and front of the home. The bathroom has a single sink, there's no natural light, and the toilet was part of the entire space, making the bathroom single use. The revised massing allows a more efficient and attractive elevation. It stacks the framing directly over walls below, which will reduce framing cost. We have a much better main bath with dual sinks and a concealed toilet and a window for natural light. We've even created an opportunity to offer an optional slope ceiling and high glass at the rear of the home. Of course, this would come with an upcharge for the high profit margin for the builder. Now, the comparison shows better views out the back, more natural light flowing into the floor space, and again, a slope ceiling and high glass being offered as an option at the rear. The original front elevation doesn't really follow a true style. It's more like a patchwork quilt, just stealing elements from different design styles, which kind of reduces its curb appeal. We got some stone, but there's too much of it, and it looks out of proportion. The shutters are completely overused. These are actually adding cost. Imagine these are about $100 a piece once you install them. And they're taking away from the curb appeal because they're done incorrectly. Shutters should at least appear to cover the window, even if they're just attached to the wall and don't operate. Now, the Queen Anne's, they're adding labor and material cost. The porch is quite large and has unnecessary railing, and the roof massing's quite unattractive. The new elevation allows for a timeless style, which offers more curb appeal and will bring in more buyers. We've simplified the overhang, reducing labor and material costs. The stone accents fit well with the style. There's less of it, but it looks more proportionate. The new roof massing has less square footage and brings better curb appeal to the plan. And we reduced the porch size and eliminated the expensive railing. Now remember, buyers aren't designers, but they can still be affected by bad design subconsciously. This new elevation is likely going to bring more buyers in the door. Now on the sides, we see these steep roof lines taken from the first floor to stay over those front gables and to fit the second floor up inside of it. The original plan has 26 windows. Our redesigned version has only 20. The long roof massing increases cost and reduces curb appeal. And you can see in the redesign version, we've reduced roof pitches and increased curb appeal by eliminating the long roof massing. At the rear elevation, again, we see that bad roof massing, this outdated bay window with a full foundation. And our new version has less roof massing and a better look from the rear of the home, and we've eliminated that expensive bay window. Now, we put some numbers to that house that I just showed you. Thanks to my colleague Ed Hauk over at Shin Consulting Builder Partnerships, we have some general pricing. By the way, if you guys ever need any pricing for build cost early in the game, the guys over at Builder Partnerships, they can price directly from our sketches, so you don't actually have to finish the construction documents. We can actually save you some upfront cost. You can get your pricing set up and you can start marketing before your construction docs are ready. Now, on that house, the original sale price was $510,000. We targeted the savings to be 10% of the original sale price to bring it down to about $459K. We targeted the savings to be 10%. Oh, we already did that. Direct construction cost is assumed to be 50% of sale price, or $255K, which means our target construction cost is $229,500. Our target savings was $25,500. Slide here. The actual savings that we saw was $30,600 after we repriced it, which put an additional margin of $5,100 with no discount. We increased the value of the home by about $10,000 due to better design, which means our total margin gain was $15,100 for this one home, yet we still brought the price down and potentially bringing in more buyers in the door because we've lowered the price. Now, everything I've shown you guys up to this point is from a perspective of a designer. There's also a perspective of builders and tradespeople that could be implemented here in this whole entire presentation. Remember, lean is a mindset, and it looks different for everybody. And it doesn't happen with one single effort. You have to stay persistent. Becoming more efficient takes time, effort, and persistence. And the only guarantee is that if you do nothing, you will surely get nothing in return. So that concludes my slides. I'm not sure if we had any questions come in at the time during that. Is there anybody out there that has any questions they'd like to ask me? It's quiet out there. You sure, guys? All right. Well, that's going to conclude that. If anybody does want to talk some more about it, feel free to give me a shout. If you want a copy of this presentation, shoot me an email or give us a call, and I'll be happy to send you a link to download. I thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully I'll talk to you guys all again soon. Thank you.